The Bibliothèque Nationale de France was projected in 1988 with the desire to build the most ambitious project of France's 20th century. This grandiose building was built in an extraordinarily brief amount of time. Due to the space, many felt the building was unsuited to house a library, and many questioned Perrault's decision to choose form before function. The architect defended his design by saying the only fault of his building was that it was rather fresh and people needed time to adjust to it. But many still criticized the building for its many questionable decisions.
It was built just near the river Seine, in part to fulfill Mitterrand and Perrault's desire to create a complex that mixed monumentality and humanity on multiple scales. However, achieving this result would have to deal with some issues regarding the environmental impact of the object itself, not only in terms of energy consumption, but also in terms of functionality. In 1910, a great 100-year Seine flood that lasted almost a month collapsed the entire Paris. It posed a crucial planning problem which is still inadequately managed even today, because of the threat that another similar flood, or even worse, is likely to occur. It actually happened in 2018. The protection plan failed, and not only the mechanical and construction system of the building, but also the program had to be rethought in a really short amount of time. That's why a 7-basement level hall with a quite thick perimeter concrete wall was dug in order to protect the complex from flood risk. It was dimensioned taking as a reference the 1910 flood. Tons of material were used in order to keep the building in its original location. Form and design were placed above function and environmental issues, no matter what the energy consumption or the ecological footprint in terms of material use or transportation was. As a result, we can now see an immense podium of concrete which not only protects the complex but also reminds us of the original government symbolism of monumentality, stepping mindlessly over the actual environmental issues.
The 4 glass towers were initially meant to store book collections from the old Bibliothèque Nationale. However, this design made it difficult to move between the libraries located in the different towers and was therefore disliked by librarians. Furthermore, the choice to store vulnerable documents close to glass windows with rich daylight was heavily criticized in the media. The towers came to be referred to as book burners and solar ovens. The collections were consequently moved to the main building on the lower floors. Sources relating to the forest garden are limited during the first 20 years, which is explained by recent researches as the lack of interest in the building. The sunken garden was, like the glass towers, originally referred to as a design flaw to the logistical aspects. It simply creates an obstacle for visitors and employees. However, the garden has received more attention from researchers in the last 10 years, in particular from landscape architects that are interested in artificial nature and that seek to answer questions such as: does nature not consist outside of culture? Is wild nature not itself a cultural construction? Since the garden is not accessible to the public, it has created an air of mystic. It is described as uncanny and ambiguous.
As said, glass towers do not offer the most suitable environment for books, and, as that was what the towers were built for, the architect had to resort to auxiliary measures to solve this problem. He used big wooden shades on the tower windows to protect the inside from direct sunlight. The problem is that these wooden shades were made out of ipe wood, a protected hardwood imported from Brazil. Environmentalists and ecologists protested, and critics saying it is the duty of the architect to make a functional building beautiful, not to adopt exactly the reverse procedure, gained a lot of power. Using a suitable material for book preservation in the building construction would have saved the use of hundreds of ipe wood shades and thousands of trees. The environment's presumption will result in higher resource efficiency and a more sustainable architecture.
We consider it would be appropriate to look deeper into the origin of raw materials. The research could reveal the true footprint left by the building's construction, as well as how far we'd have to look at to reach all the areas where materials were taken from. It would also be interesting to offer some alternative scenarios, such as how many tons of concrete could have been saved if the building wasn't so close to the Seine River, or could we have spare types if the building wasn't made of glass? Presenting specific questions would help in a more thorough investigation.